Hello, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 13th of October 2025. It's Gary here again. You know what? I actually thought this was going to be the Welcome Home Steven Gerrard podcast issue, but it didn't turn out to be the case after it all kind of spectacularly went a bit Pete Tong on Saturday. I went for a hike on Saturday with my love Erin, and on the way up the mountain we were talking about, it's a matter of time. Things are working out the way that they should be working out. There's some conversations. It's nice to see it's not just a complete slam dunk, that both parties are, weighing up their options and giving their input and having actual proper professional dialogue. And then when I came back down, it was done. It was all over, and he was not coming along. And I don't mind admitting that was a blow. That was a blow for me. I was really looking forward to getting him back there. Now, here's the key thing for me, is there has been lots and lots and lots, you've probably seen it everywhere, of reporting about the situation and circumstance as it related to Steven Gerrard, but it was all like there was nothing straight from the horse's mouth. And, there was lots of rumours, lots of innuendo, but absolutely nothing concrete. We didn't even see any photographs of where it was they met, or him getting off a plane or going back on a plane or anything. Or certainly I didn't anyway, and I wasn't, exactly not looking for stuff like that. I was quite actively, refreshing Sky Sports every other 5 or 10 minutes or so just to see what was happening. And I have to say, I don't know how unusual that would be in a regular interview process for any business. You're not really truly going to hear from the employer or from the candidates that, to come out and basically divulge details about what is or isn't happening and what has and hasn't gone well. But this isn't really a regular industry, is it? It's not really a regular interview process per se, just in terms of the scrutiny, in terms of the feeling, and in terms of what it actually came on the back of, which was a disastrous start to the season by all stretches of the imagination. And part of it I understand. You need to be respectful to the other candidates, and they can't give this airtime for right now because they're actually busy trying to work on other candidates, I would imagine. And I, in terms of that, I don't see, we were chatting about this briefly on Saturday night, I don't see it being a huge problem of being second or third or fourth choice. I mean, we're assuming Gerrard was the top choice and anyone else was just going to basically be in the wings or in his wake. And maybe it was. I mean, I guess kind of back to what I said there, unless the owners actually come out and say we did have a short list, and there's a reason we have a short list, not just a short one person written on a piece of paper. And it's, so it's sport, and anything can happen, and certain things can and do happen. And we'll see what that looks like. So whether it's going to be Danny Roll or any other candidate, one thing I kind of floated past folks the other day was that possibly him withdrawing, if indeed that's actually what happened, might have been a ploy to say, I don't like the way things are running. I don't like this head coach model. I want to be a manager. I want to have control over things like recruitment and such. And maybe Thelwell and Patrick Stewart were saying, well, that's not the model anymore. The model is this now, and this is why it's like this, and this is where we see you fitting in. And I think Rangers can't be too stead in their convictions that this is the right model for the club, because it's not working for right now, and we need to do something that works in the short term and maybe build into that over time, but like have someone, because whomever's coming in, there's not a transfer window for about, 2.5 months or so we have who we have. And unless there's other free agents out there that are kind of maybe able to come in and help us, but you'd think most of the best ones would be snapped up by now, or waiting till the transfer opens, depends where they are. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it will be very, very interesting to find out, especially from the people involved, what actually happened. If something happened that Gerrard didn't like, he could have used that as an opportunity to say, I was absolutely coming back, folks. I really was looking forward to it, and I wanted to right the wrongs of my departure and bring the club back to where we want it to be. But the model they have right now is very restrictive for someone like me to be able to do that. So the answer is no, I can't do it for right now. And if it changes, then we'll see what that looks like. I don't know if that would be derailing as well. So kind of back to what I was saying, lots of rumours and lots of innuendo, but we don't actually really truly know what happened. And what I do know in terms of trying to recruit people is you're essentially bound by kind of three major parts, aren't you? You're bound by the awareness, by the availability, and the interest of the party. So in this case, we're talking about a manager here. Like, who is aware of who we are, like truly who we are? We're a different football club, and I'm sure every football club thinks that they're different. But Rangers, I think it's undoubted that we are a different type and style of beast as a football club, and you know, people need to be aware of what that looks like and what type and style of skill set, maturity, leadership, and talent and skill that is needed to be able to steer us in the right direction. They need to know what we're trying to do, and they need to know what that opportunity looks like for them and for the fans to do what needs to be done to get us back to the top of Scottish football. And then we need to look at who's available at that particular time. Now, availability here means different things for different people. In my experience, you know, like someone might be in a job right now, but saying, by the way, to his agent, to his management team, to whomever, you know, if the Rangers job was ever to come up, make sure that they pop my name into the ring, or make sure that at least I'm made aware of what that looks like, because I wouldn't mind talking to them again. Or I'm thinking here like Frank Lampard or someone like that. And, you know, so it kind of means different things. And, you know, someone doesn't need to be out of a job right now, I guess is probably what I'm saying about that. And then in terms of actual genuine interest in helping the club out and coming in and saying, look, I've been watching this from afar, or maybe quite close up, and there's some basic fundamental things that you need on the football side that you've just not been doing for some time. You've been trying to overcomplicate it. You've been trying to, you know, you've kind of been forgetting about today and thinking about too much about tomorrow, whatever it is. I'm not 100% sure. The experts would be much better placed to say what that looks like rather than I. But here's the thing, right? In my line of work, I'm a leadership coach, I'm a life coach, I do education work, I do consulting work for organisations that are looking to try and get better at things. And in my line of work, the more chaotic an organisation or a person is, the more that I know that I can help, the more excited I get about helping, and the more that I know I can help and help quickly. And I think we need someone like that comes in and says, look, here's the quick fix, here's the October to December plan, here's the January to June plan, or January to May plan, and then here's the plan for the summer, and here's the plan for next time. And some people, I do appreciate, know and understand that they will run in the opposite direction when it gets to the chaos and the madness. I am the type of guy that runs towards that. And that's what we need. Someone to come in and say, enough is enough. This is what we need to do. Trust me on this, and get the results immediately. That's what I do. And there's people out there. Absolutely, there are people out there that can do this for us. We just need to try and find them. But we're in a situation now where I don't think any of us truly, really knows where this is going to go. And I was just thinking about this morning in preparation for recording. Right now it's 11:53 a.m. And the last time I was genuinely excited by a manager, if you take away Seville in the run to the Europa League final back in 2022, the last time I was genuinely excited with a manager being in place was Steven Gerrard. And I just lapped up all the content that they put out, all of his interviews. I loved his style. I loved his bullishness. I loved his leadership, and we were a better club for having him there. I don't know of anyone else out there that's going to generate that level of interest, that level of excitement, and ultimately, most importantly, that level of success. So anyone else that comes in from this point, assuming it's definitely genuinely not going to be Steven Gerrard, is going to be on the back foot now. Hopefully not as much of the back foot as Russell Martin was, because he was quite an underwhelming appointment in the beginning, and it proved to be absolutely 100% correct in terms of how we all felt about it at the time. But we need a name, and we need someone to come in and not give us all the stuff that Russell Martin did, you know, and we need someone that's going to command respect, generate excitement, and more importantly, win football games. That's what we need. And I don't know, it's going to be very, very interesting. I thought things were moving. I mean, that's over a week now, and it doesn't look like we're very much closer to appointing anyone. And I think that smacks of, what would you say, dysfunction or clunky management in terms of our leadership. If we knew that Russell Martin was a result away, or a couple of results away from being relieved of his duties, why are we sitting here now, you know, a couple of weeks on from that, certainly 7 days, 8 days on from the actual sacking, and it doesn't look like we're any further forward? It's not good enough. actually, quite frankly, folks. And I hope that we get what we need to get over the next few days, and then prior to this weekend, that we have an opportunity to have a new manager in the dugout, get all the interviews and such out the way, and then let him and his team get on with the job at hand. Remember, I was laughing about Barry Ferguson, and not laughing at Barry Ferguson, laughing about the fact that him and McGregor and Dodds and McCann might be back at some point. That's maybe not quite as ridiculous now as it kind of seemed at the time. Who knows? We'll see what that looks like. In terms of games for this week, nothing obviously. It was an international break, and Scotland had two really good results to secure at least a playoff spot in the World Cup qualification. They're joint top of the small league that we're in with Denmark there. So some really crucial games coming up next month here to determine exactly what that looks like. But to have a playoff spot right now is great. I seen some talk on the NARSA WhatsApp group about how badly they played against Greece but managed to eke out the result. And then I seen a headline this morning. I don't typically pay too much attention to Scotland games these days, but I seen something where Steve Clarke was quite disappointed with the performance yesterday, but beating Belarus 2-1 is what they wanted to do, what they had to do in terms of getting a result that puts us in a good position there. So it looks like it's going well to secure the first World Cup qualification spot in many years. So we'll see what that looks like. The next game for Rangers is this Saturday at Ibrox, and that's the 18th of October, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff, 3 p.m. in the UK. And we've been quite fortunate with some of the kickoff times, actually, I should say, over the last wee while. So long may that continue. And as I said in the intro there, we need to get someone in prior to the weekend, and we need to beat Dundee United at Ibrox. It's as simple as that, and nothing else will do. And I know that I've been saying that, and I know that you've been saying that forever, but it's just one of these things. It's just nowhere near good enough. Absolutely. On to the shout-outs for this week, and I did want to start with a bit of a plug. The Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary is 25 years old this year. I mentioned that a couple of pods ago, I think it was, and as such, we are going to be having a 25th anniversary party on the 1st of November at Pinbar here, which is our destination for our club for this past few years now. Lovely place and great fun down there. The folks are all absolutely magically kind to us, which is great. And we're going to have a bit of a spin on this, where it's going to be a bit of an Oasis reunion for the folks in Calgary who'd made an effort to go and see Oasis wherever it was they went to see them. We're going to be showing one of the concerts there in the afternoon. So it's about 2 to 5 p.m. roughly-ish, something like that, 1 to 5. And then it's the day before the Old Firm game, so we're going to try and knock it on the head a wee bit earlier so that we're actually up for the semi-final without feeling too rough about it. So if you're in or around the Calgary area, please do come along and celebrate our 25th anniversary with us. We got some information from Jimmy Hutchins in the club where he pinpointed the exact date of our carnation of our birth as a football club, a football supporters club, that is. And it was kind of interesting because I asked him on the 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year anniversaries, and he's like, yeah, we don't really know what happened. And then now he suddenly knows the date. So I don't know if he's punking us or if he was just punking us for the whole time. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, we're going to celebrate it on the 1st of November. So what's that? Just over 2 weeks away, two and a bit weeks away. If you're in and around Calgary, we'd love to see you there. And we'll have a bit of banter about Rangers, and we'll certainly see some Oasis songs. We'll have a few beers and a good laugh there. I did see something. I don't know if this is in the shout-outs or it should be in the WTF column, but I just saw on the weekend there that Ross Wilson was appointed the sporting director at Newcastle after they had enacted his release clause from Nottingham Forest. Now, do you see a bit of a pattern here? Nottingham Forest, Southampton kind of hit the skids, and then he goes to Rangers. Rangers aren't at our best by any stretch of the imagination, and he manages to get out and get the job at Forest. What's Forest doing? You guessed it right, folks. They're starting to hit the skids now. And then he gets this job at Newcastle. I have to say, firstly, wow, man, that is incredible. And then secondly, that's a gift there, is it not? I mean, how you can manage to go from club to club to club, and I don't know the ins and outs of the job that he's got, but to do what doesn't seem like hugely successful work, and then continue to get a better job after a better job after a better job, or certainly you're being rewarded for less than stellar results. It's incredible. I'd love to know what his interview style is. Obviously, it's very similar to Russell Martin's, because he got welcomed with open arms and then kicked out the door 5 minutes later. So, yeah, interesting. We'll see if Newcastle go from strength to strength or if they hit the skids, but certainly very well sought after young man, and good for him for doing what he's getting to do by getting all these plum jobs here. Quick shout out again for Amanda and Jason Junior Ross, who are running the London Marathon in April. I will keep the link there for that in terms of their support for the Royal British Legion. And what we're just over a month away now from the Melbourne City Loyal Rangers Supporters Club Culture Weekend. And that's on the 21st to 22nd of November. What's that, like 5 weeks away? Something like that. Ian Ferguson, Gary Stevens, Stuart Monroe, boat cruise, gala dinner. Going to be a lot of fun for all the boys and girls over there. In terms of NARSA business for this week, we have an executive meeting. We're actually meeting with Greg Marshall tomorrow morning, and what is going to be the first of a series of formal meetings between NARSA and the club, just to talk and walk through what the club can do for us, what the club can do for what we can do for the club, just basic dialogue, and kind of make it more businessy. I've met with Greg many times over the years, and there was always a reason for the call. There was something specific or explicit that we had to talk about, but it didn't feel like we really went anywhere with a lot of things. There's always something happening. And this meeting was moved after the sacking of Russell Martin. So I don't know how chaotic it's going to be. I don't anticipate that Greg's going to be able to share anything that we can't already find online or anything. It's not about that. It's about their ability to be able to start to kind of brainstorm on some ideas that are going to be mutually beneficial. So that's tomorrow morning at, I think it's 8 o'clock my time. What's that, 10 Eastern Standard Time? And most of the NARSA executive will be there, or certainly everyone's invited to that anyway, and we'll see what that looks like. And we do have our next executive meeting on the 22nd, which is a week on Wednesday. I'm actually going to be in Orange County, California then, because I'm going to a coaching conference in San Diego. So I'm going to go and hang out with Brian and Gaynor and the family on the day that we arrive and the day that we're leaving, or the day before we're leaving, I guess, and just travel through to San Diego for the few days there. So got a chance to be there at the same time, and we'll see what's happening with the convention. I did mention last week that we are talking about a smaller event for next year, and then maybe going something bigger in terms of what we want to do for 2027. And we are still doing the research into cities and venues and things to do, and what the smaller event kind of looks like, what it feels like, what type and style of events we would put on, cost structure, location, things to do, the things that I just mentioned there. So we'll see what that looks like, but I hope to be in a position, if it's not next week, but certainly the week after, to say this is where we've selected and this is where we're going. So the key news is there is going to be a convention next year, or a NARSA event next year. Let me just be a bit more expressive about that, and we just have to determine where it's going to be. And with the places that we're looking at, I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all. And something a wee bit different in there with the various locations. And I don't want to say too much. It's not my news to share, but we'll get that out there. Maybe we'll get Brian on, or maybe Alan on, to talk about the destination that's selected and why we selected that destination and what we're hoping to get from there, just so that we can have a bit more of an open dialogue about that. But we're getting very close, and we are very, very conscious. I know I mentioned this last week. We're very conscious that, of course, we're pushing time here, so we need to get moving on things as quickly as we possibly can and see where we go from there. Another reminder about the Rangers Charity Ball, in partnership with the Rangers Charity Foundation, that we have access to, I believe it's 2 tickets. So if you are a NARSA member of an official NARSA club and you are looking to go back, it's the Old Firm semi-final weekend, and you're looking to go back and you'd like to add in the Rangers Charity Foundation charity ball into your experience when you're home, then you can get the tickets for free. All you have to do is message me. I have had not one reply, not one. And I think it's symptomatic of where the club is at right now. We're just doing the bare minimum we can to support the club, and we'll just need to wait and see if and when we start to get better as we go forward. I took some Charity Foundation badges over to a Thanksgiving party on this past Saturday night, and I said, look, does anybody want these badges? And everybody just stared at me as if, are you mental? We don't want anything to do with Rangers right now. This was hot on the heels of the news about Gerrard saying no on that. So yeah, I don't know. And the last thing in terms of NARSA business I have for this week is Andy Burnett, our treasurer, had asked me to mention the fact that Canada Post, they were on strike for a number of weeks there, and they're now back to work on rotating strikes. So there is a service, a mail service of sorts that's back on, and we do know that some clubs have checks that they're waiting to mail, so you can post them anytime you like now, and we will have a much better chance of getting the checks into us. I have a stack of thank you cards that I write to various people after the conventions, and they've been sitting there waiting for quite some time before. I didn't want to post them when it was getting a wee bit dodgy, so I'll wait another week or so maybe, and then I'll get them out as one last act of convention wrap up, essentially. On the communication section, I actually just mentioned it there and didn't mention it at the top of the show. Happy Thanksgiving to all Canadian Blue Noses who are celebrating Thanksgiving this week. It's Thanksgiving Monday. Today we had a party over at my sister Debbie's place on Saturday night, and there was no turkey or anything. She did a couple of curries, a Chinese curry and a butter chicken curry, and they were brilliant. It was a great night. Made for quite a long day tomorrow. I made for quite a long day yesterday, I have to say, and it was a great night and good to get together with everybody and have a bit of a laugh and get some music on and sing too loud and have just a few too many beers there, but lots and lots of fun. So happy Thanksgiving for everyone. You'll probably know that the Canadian Thanksgiving is at a different time than the American Thanksgiving, and the Canadian Thanksgiving, as far as I understand it, is basically it's for everybody to pause and show and demonstrate thanks for me immigrating to Canada just under actually 21 years ago. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point of the Canadian Thanksgiving. So you're welcome, of course, you're welcome. And I'll talk about my anniversary here coming up in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of episodes' time, I guess that would be. Anyway, on to the remainder of the communication section. There was a Gers guide out there today. Nothing much happening today. Tomorrow's the loan review. Wednesday's an international review of all the inputs that Rangers players had on the international scene in terms of the World Cup qualifiers. And not a lot that I could see happening on Thursday. On Friday, I imagine, would be the press conference. Will it be with a first team coach, or will it be, as in someone who's already there, or will it be an actual manager that's in place, or a head coach, or whatever it is they're going to go for next time? Not 100% sure. And then Saturday, of course, is at home to Dundee United. And then on Sunday, the Rangers women's team play Hamilton at Ibrox with a 2 p.m. kickoff. And speaking of that, the Rangers women's team got beat 3-2 at Hibs yesterday. They were 2-0 up and then walked away from the game with 0 points and 1 deficit on the goal difference. And that's them down now to 5th in the table. I believe there's something like 7 points maybe behind the leaders, Glasgow City. Right now, it's just, they looked like they were having a rally there for a wee while, and obviously last week had won 12-0. But they just can't seem to produce a result against the big teams, and it's a worry for Leanne Crichton and her management team. The women's team are doing what the men's team are doing, mid-table. You got Hearts and Hibs and who is it, Glasgow City and that other mob ahead of them. I know it's still fairly early in the season, but it's just the vibe of the club right now, isn't it? We're just not good enough to be competing where we want to be competing, which is very, very disappointing. Did you see on the communications front, I'm sure you read the open letter from Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi last week? I'm not 100% sure what to say about that. I'm not 100% sure what they could have said. Quite frankly, they admitted they got it wrong with Russell Martin. They admitted they're going to be more hands-on with this particular manager. I don't know these guys well enough to know how sincere it was, really, and how much they actually wrote it. I understand the communications team would write it, present it to them, they would make some tweaks, and then they would get it out on their behalf. There was nothing in there to really grab a hold of to say these guys get it, these guys know and understand the pain that we're going through, and these guys are going to do everything they can to get it right. And I think part of that is literally just because we don't know them. We don't know them at all. They said you would hear from us only when things aren't going well, and we didn't. We didn't hear from them other than this open letter, which was all right, I guess is maybe the biggest compliment I could pay it. The biggest compliment they can pay us is actually getting a proper manager in that's going to get us excited and give us an opportunity to move forward with purpose and an opportunity to actually start to climb the table and see what happens from there. So yeah, not I wasn't completely underwhelmed by it, but I was just kind of like, yeah, man, whatever, right? Just do your job, guys, please, and then figure it out and see what that looks like. Please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's going to really help us when we're approaching potential sponsors. And we are going to have some folks on soon here over the next wee while. I think I'll probably wait until after my trip down to California, and then we'll start to get a schedule of guests organised. Maybe every second episode we'll have a guest on from the NARSA executive and from some partners out there that we're looking to try and promote their platform, and they can promote our platform and get us more likes. But if you haven't already, even if you don't listen on YouTube and you listen to it on your podcast platform, if you could go and just give us a like and a subscribe over there, that really helps us determine our reach and determine and know and understand what we can use that for in terms of advertising collateral with potential partners of ours going forward. So that would be great. And finally, just a reminder of an evening with Barry Ferguson, Alan McGregor, Neil McCann and Billy Dawes. Our new management team, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I've been a Barry Ferguson fan forever. I think he was brilliant as a player, and I love his demeanour. I love his style. I loved what he did on some of the games for us last season. But the games that he really should have done better, and at Ibrox he didn't. And so there was no genuine euphoria to say this guy deserves a chance. And maybe with this different squad and maybe with the benefit of having had that experience, maybe it's here new Graham Murty where we'll go back to him again. I imagine if they went back to him again, he would say there's no chance I'm doing that unless you give me a 2, 3, 4 year contract, whatever it would be. But I don't know. I don't know. Would he get me as excited? Probably not, just in terms of how he performed last season. But yeah, he's a Rangers man. He talks a lot of sense. He doesn't hide. He shows his passion on the sideline, wears his heart on his sleeve. I mean, that's a lot of skills and traits there that we're actually looking for. So maybe the more I say that out loud, the more I'm trying to convince myself that maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Who knows? But just get something done this week, please, folks. Because if Barry was genuinely seriously interviewed for the role in the summertime and didn't get it, I would think, if from a leadership perspective, I would be going back to each of the unsuccessful candidates from last time and saying, listen, as you know, this job has opened up again. Are you interested in coming and having a further conversation about it? We're seriously, you don't have to go through the whole interview process again. We're just going to give you an update on where things are at, what we think we need for right now and move forward. I don't know that he would just completely bin them. Absolutely. Who knows? Again, that's what I would do, but I'm not sure that I have the same sort of work practices than as our leadership do for right now. So I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. Maybe I'll message Barry after this, and if I get any news, I'll let you know. I don't know. Anyway, that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to tune into this episode. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. Have them subscribe to it on the YouTube channel as well, or their favourite podcast platform. That would be very, very much appreciated. We'll just need to see what happens this week. There was a lot of excitement generated up to including the end of last week, and it was fun. It was fun again to kind of start to galvanise ourselves around the football matters, and then we didn't get the news that we were hoping for. Hopefully we do as the week progresses. Until next week, please do take care of yourself and all the very best, okay? Follow.